If I do this right, if I do this right,
we gotta do this right.
It'll change the world.
The whole world.
It'll change my life.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
Aisha.
If I do this right,
World peace.
if I do this right,
Come on.
There
it'll
he
change
is.
the
Change the
world.
world.
It'll change my life.
Gonna change the
Hey.
whole life.
If I do this right,
If
I do this
Let's
right,
go. Let's
if I
go.
do this right,
it'll change the world.
that's what's
It'll
up.
change my life.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
If I do this right,
Yeah.
if I do this right,
Let's go.
Welcome to If I Do This Right. I'm Darian, and this is Aisha. So welcome everybody. This podcast is about people that if they did things right,
right.
you know what I'm saying, where would they be? Would they make their lives better? Would they be in a better position? Things like that. So we're glad you can join us. If you haven't already, go back and watch episode 1,
Right.
okay? And make sure you're following us on all social media platforms.
Absolutely. I am so excited about today's show because we actually get to have our first guest on the
Yes,
show.
yes.
And this guest actually happens to be an ex-co-worker of mine and kind of in turn a little brother to me. So let me read you a little bit about Chris. Chris is an alumnus from Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, and he was awarded Outstanding Young Alumnus by UNCF for the 2018-2019 year.
That's big.
Yeah, he is also the author of the book Antron, Dear Absent Father, Life Being Reared by My Mother. He served on 3 universities over the last 8 years, which is a lot. He was a senior counselor, conduct administrator, student activities director for student affairs, enrollment management, and academic affairs, and much, much more. My friend, Mr. Chris Brown. Woo!
All right.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, friend. How are you today?
How you doing, Chris?
Oh, I'm fantastic. It's so good to be here.
Good to have you. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us on the show. We're so excited to have a conversation with you today.
All right. So before we get started, we have a fun poll for everybody. We have a new segment. It's called "Is the poll is right?"
Yeah.
So we want to put everything. Is it right? So this is called the poll is right. So before we start each show, we'll post a poll on the Facebook page, and then when the show airs, we'll ask questions during the show.
Yes.
That way our live audience can chime in and answer the question. So guys, we're going to put the question on the screen, and feel free to comment your answer. Then we'll announce the winning answer at the end, depending on all the people that clicked on the poll. So
Right.
that's my 2 cents. So hey, so first off, Chris.
Wait.
No. I just want to talk to him a little bit. Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. So I just want to say hi to him. I didn't get a chance.
Oh, you didn't get your
I didn't get a chance to say
My
nothing.
bad. I think I probably just kind of jumped in there.
You just did jump. Yeah.
I apologize.
And
So the poll that you guys see on the screen is what part of the cheesecake is best. So A, is it the cheesecake? B, is it the crust? Or C, neither? What's your answer, Chris? What's the best part of the cheesecake for you?
well, I see my answer is not there because I would say both, which would have been D. So
Really?
I would have
Interesting.
third.
So
I
it's like you
both.
gotta have the combination of all of it in order for it to be good.
That's right. I need
Okay.
both.
Okay,
Like
good
the
answer.
of a
Good
pie.
answer. I like that answer. What about you, D?
I got to go with the cheesecake part.
Yeah.
I've been to Cheesecake Factory. Some of the cheesecake crust doesn't meet well with me. I'm like, I can kind of like when I can clear the whole crust
Yeah.
just by eating the cheesecake, and then I'll just like pick at it after that. But just
Really?
it's the cheesecake for me. Yeah.
Really? For me, it's definitely the crust. Like if the crust is not good, the cheesecake isn't good for me because like the crust makes the cheesecake for me.
I don't know about that because you get strawberries, you get the strawberry sauce on there, and
Yeah, but the mix of the salty and sweet, which the crust is usually like a salty or sweet, that the mixture of that is what makes the cheesecake good. If it's not good, if the crust isn't good, the cheesecake is not good.
You know,
That's my
somebody's been watching too many cooking shows. That's a cooking show response. You know how one of the judges be on there and be like, you made the crust wrong, and the guy looking at him like, man, you better like
It's
my
too sweet. It doesn't
Yeah.
have enough ganache.
yeah, ganache. Yeah, if you ain't got a ganache, you ain't nobody.
All right, so guys, make sure that you put A, B, C, or D, which is not there, but let's pretend it is, since it obviously is an answer. Put it there in the comments. We're gonna trigger back to that.
You know
or
what?
Rotate back to
And
that.
then Chris, you said both. So what cheesecake gives you that both?
Oh, that's a
You
good,
know,
yeah.
cheesecake and crust.
You know, it's so funny because I like one cheesecake in particular, and that would be the strawberry cheesecake. And,
There you go.
and
Yeah,
I
that's a favorite.
and sometime I have to ask them, can I pay the 59 cents for another cute container of strawberry? So, you know, I definitely love cheesecake, and I have to have both. It's like an organ. I can't move without a brain and a heart. I gotta have both.
There you go. You know, you gotta come to Dallas so I can make you the red velvet cheesecake. I have a recipe for red velvet cheesecake. If you like red velvet cake, it is so good.
Well,
So
I love it, and I can't wait to hold you to it. So I'll
okay,
let you know in advance before I get.
good deal, good deal.
So okay, so let's get started. Chris, you the man of the hour. Let's and tell the audience and everyone about yourself, and then what do you want our audience to know about you?
Okay. Well, first off, my name is Chris Brown, and I'm Chris all day long. I am a native of Monroe, Louisiana, the heart of who I am. Born and reared right here in this city, and gotten a chance to do a wide range of things. Got to leave this place when I was about 18. Went to college, and at Wiley in Marshall, Texas, home of the great debater. So big shout outs to Wiley College. That dub.
That's
Uh,
it.
and got a chance to go to college there. Then I graduated from there. Was asked to stay there and work, and so was asked that Tuesday, graduated that Saturday, moved in my office that Monday morning, and so I've been in higher ed or some sense of education since that time. Never in my wildest imagination, if I did it right, did I know I would continue to be here. So I did it right, and I was continued to be asked to stay in the industry, but it was my hope to go to law school, to practice law, to become a defense attorney, and to run immediately for political office, whether it be state representative or state senate or my goal is to one day become the first Black elected governor of Louisiana. So, and I always have to throw that elected party in. We've had a Black
Yeah.
governor
We
before,
had a black governor, or yeah.
and he was PBS Pinchback. And so, just a fun fact for those that are watching. But, you know, and none of that kind of happened. So, if I said, that goes hand in hand with the title, if I do this right, what will the next stages of life look like for me? And so that's what's kind of has happened thus far. So I have siblings, born and reared by my mother, Renita Brown, in a village. It took a village to rear me. Understanding all that came along with my upbringing and all that came along with just what needed to happen, knowing that all hands needed to be on deck with this little guy.
Yeah.
So, nonetheless, I can say that it must have worked. So I tilt my hat to all those who played a part and who I am today. So that's just a little bit about who I am as a person. Yeah, no significant, no children, and so no dog, no cat. So I am, and I look forward to this conversation. So again, thanks for having me. Of course.
Of course.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I wanted to ask. A lot of people don't know the transition. Like, I'm talking about the mass majority. Don't know the transition of when you went straight to college. After school.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk us through and how did you get like how does that feeling go to say, hey, I'm going to college?
Mm-hmm.
That whole feel for it to say, hey, I'm in Wiley in a totally different, town and just that whole experience and what you thought at the time.
Not just town, state.
State, yeah,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Well, Darren, I think that's a really good question because over the years, Aisha and I, when we worked in enrollment management, had to go around the country telling young people and non-traditional students about our upbringing and what made us go to college and what was that triggered that wanted us to have some initials behind our name that wasn't junior nor senior and first, second, or the third. And one of the things that happened to me while I was in high school, there is an exam, and it's called, well, it's phased out now, but it used to be called in Louisiana the GEE, and the GEE stood for Graduate Exit Exam.
Okay.
I had done so well on every component except the math part. And I tell this to people that we left 2 + 2, and that was a wrap for me. They wanted to start mixing letters and numbers together, and I said, "Who's
right? Some things don't
go.
So I ended up not being able to pass that exam, and it took the summer after I graduated. So that means in my high school diploma, when I walked the stage, it said, "I'll see you in summer school." And so, yeah. And so it was, only people who would know that would be the people who are on the floor with you and the person who put the diploma in the diploma cover. And so I ended up not giving up. I said, if I do this right, and I got to throw that in because this title sat so home for me that if I do this right, I think sometimes we don't often place that question into perspective when getting ready to make one of the biggest decisions of our lives, whether we know it or not. And so I said, if I do this right, Chris, you can get out of this thing, And so I ended up having to research what part of the math section was I not performing my very best in, and why study geometry when it's the algebraic expressions that I really need to double dip in on. And I think that's one of the things that we need to do. Sometimes we always, when we're doing a diagnostic, we're always willing to continue to study the stuff we know we do very well in, opposed to tapping into the thing we very well lack in.
Right.
So going to tutorial and not going to PE and going to sit in a math class were things that I did in order to get it right. And eventually, make a long story short, I got it right. And then another challenge happened that led up to the college point. Bobby Jindal was the governor at that time, number 53. At the time, he changed the rules as it related to higher education here in this state. So community colleges were placed into position.
In what state?
In
Louisiana?
Yeah.
So instead of changing it, and what happened is if you didn't have a particular ACT score or you didn't have a particular GEE score, you had to go to community college first. He had moved every school, 4-year school, to selective enrollment. So how I got to Wiley is because Wiley was an open enrollment institution, and it was 30 minutes away from Shreveport, and it still allowed my family to be able to commute if necessary. So that's how I got to Wiley. And some of us never even, some of us that went to Wiley and to Jarvis and other schools didn't know we were going until weeks leading up to it. That was the crazy thing. I didn't know I was going to Wiley until 2 weeks before school began.
Wow.
I saw my kindergarten teacher at a hospital visit, and she said, "Where are you going to school?" And I said, "Well, I can't go anywhere in Louisiana. I'll have to go to community college first." She said, "Go to www.wileyc.edu." And it's history.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I digress, but that's exactly how I got to college. It was if I do this right, if I literally write down strategically how I want things to go, if I really pray and invest in what it is that I want to go into, I can get there. If I utilize the resources of the village I have surrounding me, I could get there. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow. That says a lot. I remember being in Monroe recruiting for Jarvis. And I remember I texted you and was like, what are they talking about? You're like, no, they aren't going to be able to, if they can't get that, they're not going to be able to move forward. And that's what made the school that we were working for at the time such a so appealing for those students. When did they phase that test out?
So the test was phased out Let's see, I graduated in 2010, so the test must have been phased out about 2013. But what they did was they just came back at 2013, and they now have the exam called the EOC, which is the end of course examination, which is a lot easier for students because they only have to project or perform what they've learned in the academic school term. Opposed to GEE, students have to go back 8th grade, 4th grade, which they learned. You know, I remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I
you gotta have ambition just to make that change, that quick change. 2 weeks, people plan years for school, and you had to switch school in 2 weeks. You're talking about going into like the abyss. Like you're like, all right, I'm here now. What do I do?
Yeah.
You know, where do I go? How do I connect everything? So yeah, that was. I mean, that just shows you how much ambition you are and not afraid, you know, to change.
Yeah. And we saw that a lot recruiting. CB had been a recruiter well before I even thought about recruiting. But that was something we saw a lot of people not knowing what they were going to do. And finally, like at the very last second, sometimes after school had already started, like, you know what, I guess I'll go to school.
Wow.
So, yeah. And a lot of them didn't stick it through. But there were a fine number of people who they stuck it through and they stayed with it and they found their niche and they figured out what they needed to do it right to get on and graduate. So
wow.
Yeah.
And you know, if I may say this before, but that's the most important thing for those that are out there listening is that when it comes down to how bad do I really want this?
Come on now.
Yep.
And I think we've all faced people who have told us where we could and could not go into the world. And we determined that, you know, and so that was one of the biggest things for me is knowing that anybody can go to college, but can you say that you completed the task, that you graduated from college? And that was when I heard that the first time I was sitting in the auditorium, it blew my mind that a lot of us can say certain things, but how many of us can say that we're getting to that point, that we're doing everything possible? So yeah.
CB, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. I have a copy of your book here.
Oh, I was so shocked when I seen you bring it out. Only on the Aisha and Darian show.
Thank you, baby. So I want to read a passage that kind of stood out to me. So we're going to talk a little bit about the book.
Okay.
And I believe, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I read the whole thing, but I've read enough to kind of get a glimpse of what was going on. And I think you were kind of writing almost like a letter to your dad in a sense, correct? Okay. I put 2 and 2 together and it did make 4.
That's
so I'm going to read a passage here. It says, I did not love me. It was apparent. I did not know who I was. Mentally, I battled. If I would ever truly become successful because of society's perception of those with a background like mine, being reared a Black male, poor, and from a single parent household, even in the year of 2016. The great thing is success is defined by how well you lived being simply you. Self-identification is a development. Wow. Accepting things that cannot be changed and focusing in on the outcome is what's important. You cannot allow your past to dictate your future benchmarks. So, talk to us. Huh?
Did I write that?
This is in your book. I'm reading it out.
That sounded so.
This is in your book.
I forgot.
So, talk to us first of all. What made you decide to write this book? Talk to us about the labor of love, because I have written a book before, so I know there is a labor of love when you do something like this, especially when you're sharing your own story. So, talk to us a little bit about what made you decide to write this book and some of the words and the verbs that are very strong and powerful in this book.
I appreciate it. I started writing that book in 2013. And the book was supposed to have a different title to it. You know, you're a writer. You know how when we get to writing, putting that pen and paper, because
Yeah.
I'm traditional. I didn't start out typing it. I started out writing it.
Okay.
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 And it started off as a letter that was supposed to have been on the back of it, some goals, and I was supposed to have buried the letter in my community town that I grew in, the neighborhood that I grew up in, called Newtown, which is the projects, you know.
Why do that? What's that? What's that? Why what makes you think to do it like that way? To bury it?
I was watching a interview, something like what we're doing now, and when I was watching that interview, this lady who had come from Ghana had written some goals down. She had gotten into a divorce, which was very, uncommon in their native land. Just a lot of things that. So she came to America to go to school, and she wrote on this sticky note, kind of a thing, and she wrote that I want to get my bachelor's, then I want to get my master's, and then I want to get my doctorate. And every single time she completed it, she would go back to the grounds where she had it buried, and she would check it off her list, put it back into the jar, and rebury it. And I said, that is just such a sacred thing for you, and I wanted to tap into that, but it didn't work out like that for me. And that's the great thing, that everybody's
everybody's journey is not the same.
Won't be your right way
of
something. And it doesn't make hers wrong. It just makes ours different. And so I ended up writing that book, and I kept battling about things I wanted to say, things I would knowing that.
Chris. You all right? You gonna survive today?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Okay. I don't want to embarrass you and put you on the spot.
No, not at all.
No, don't embarrass her. Listen, she has no embarrassment. Just get my baby some water, some Menage a Trois wine.
No, I'm fine. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
So it was the fact that I knew that I wanted to write. I love writing, but being in college, you start hearing things from other students about their growing up and their upbringing and who they may be related to. And you said, I hadn't even gotten to a point where I've been ready to talk to this. I've just been writing about it. They're actually having a conversation to me about where they're coming from. And I said, if they're not embarrassed, or if they're not, challenged about what public perception is and opinion is about who they are and where they come from, surely I can write about it. And the reason I named it Antron is because my middle name is Antron, and everybody knows Chris Brown, but I wanted them to get an opportunity to meet Antron.
Wow.
And one of the reasons why I did that. And then the reason why I also placed the birth certificate, my original birth certificate, as the front cover is because I wanted people to know that my mother was young when she had me. The purpose of the book was to inspire people, despite where you come from, despite who you may be related to. You determine where you go in life if you do this right. If you do it right, if you write down what you need to write down, if you prepare and plan and execute, if you love with all your heart, you'll be fine. It conquers a multitude of sin. That was the book was written out of true love. The book was because to not know my father does not mean that I don't love him. It's just like Christ, a person whom we've never met before, a being whom we've never met before.
Yeah.
We tend to love, who tends to repeatedly, habitually take care of us. And so despite my biological father not doing that, I knew that I had to forgive him. And my only way of forgiving him, since I didn't know him and have the ability to verbally tell him that, was to write to him and let him know that all is well, and I'm going to keep running this race. And so,
do you miss what it could be if you would have met him? What is it that you feel that you're missing, or that has been filled about your father? Because that's a huge topic for you to write a book about. So what is it that you feel that you're missing, or you may have filled the void?
Okay. So Darren, if I went over the list of things that I, missed or would like to have happened, this show would have to be continued.
Understood.
On a serious note,
Yeah.
to kind of backtrack just a tad, that part where you said miss about him, my grandmother used to say something when I was growing up that I never really understood. She said, "You can't miss anything you've never had."
Yeah.
And so
Shout out to grandma.
I
Yeah.
say that I necessarily miss him, but I care to say that I missed out on a lot. Uh, that I noticed that, I tell people all the time that single mothers can do the very best that they can to ensure that that child, the village, can do the very best that they can to ensure. But there's just some things in our innate ability in the DNA that the biological father is supposed to give to the child.
Yeah.
And so I think that I don't I don't know what life would be like if he had been in my life, but I am grateful that God has given me a sound mind to be able to maneuver through this life without him, to be my strength and my very weakness. So, yeah. I hope I answered your question too.
No, it shows growth. Like, I like that when you said that when you're able to talk about something like this, it shows that you've grown in some aspect. Because a lot of people, the same subject is touching, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But when you grow from it, when you grow from something, you talk about it because now you made sense that your journey didn't begin that way, but it's going to end in your own way. So I appreciate you sharing that. That was real strong.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Thank you. Your questions, and I'm gonna tell you, Aisha, you're gonna have to step it up a bit because Darren got some very interesting questions. I think he's been practicing in his late night hour.
Okay, all right. I'm here to make him look good. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm here to make him look good.
Your questions are fairly good. I think he may think he's Dr. Phil right now.
Dr. Phil.
He's pushing the envelope on you. He's pushing the envelope. So what I will say is, Chris, you have talked a lot about the different if I get it right scenarios throughout, from high school even up until now. So is there anything that you would say, dang, I wish I could go back and do this particular thing right, that you feel like may have changed the trajectory of where you are now?
Absolutely.
Was that a good enough question for you?
Girl, I almost. That is a really great question, and yeah, I was thinking about when you said when we were talking about earlier, and I was saying how I got this job right out of college, and but to know what I know now, educators are extremely underpaid.
Yeah.
And you know that, and we were extremely overworked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it kind of didn't balance well with me,
Yeah.
I know math, but I know that didn't balance off very well. And so if I could go back into time and snap my fingers, I would have declined the offer to work at Wiley College starting out.
Wow, really?
And that is a I'm
Are
grateful.
we talking about the first or the second time?
Both. There would have been no second time had I.
Understood.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
But the first time that I was asked to stay at Wiley, I loved Dr. Strickland, the president, like a pawpaw. He was an old gentleman. I loved his wisdom, his expertise. I was like a sponge when it came to him. I wanted to soak up everything the man had to offer.
Yeah.
And I did well at that. He taught me a lot about how to just kind of do the right thing. And I wish that I had followed my mind the first go round when I was supposed to have gone straight to law school. I had already began studying for the LSAT. I had already defended programs in the state capital of Louisiana as it relates to a wide range of things. I was on a 13-member delegation by the state representative appointed. I was the statewide executive vice president of the party when I was in college. I had already run for Monroe City School Board while I was in college. So if I had just stuck with what the plan was, then there would probably have been no Chris Brown as it related to higher education. It would have been Chris Brown here to represent the defendant, and by now, 8 years later, to be eligible to run for judge, I would have been eligible to run for judge at this point.
You sound like a Capricorn.
I am a Capricorn.
Are you a December Capricorn or a January Capricorn?
January, J15. J15, Doc. J15. When is yours, Darren?
Come on, J9. J9.
I knew it.
Come on.
I knew it. And let me clear this up, because I know there'll be people who will go back and watch this and perhaps misconstrued what it is that I said.
Yeah.
But it's not that I regret my working at Wiley.
Even
I'm working in education or impacting the lives that I've gotten a chance to impact.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I had done it right to impact my own life,
there you go,
the channels would be drastically different.
Yeah.
You hit the hammer. You hit the nail with the hammer when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
That is. We don't even look at ourselves.
Yeah.
And you know what, Darren? That's a really great point that you made, and I want to go to that too. It's so important. It's so imperative and vital that people know that you have to put yourself at the top of your list. It doesn't make you selfish, because, and I only say that because it's humanly impossible for you to pour in anybody else's cup. And these are Oprah words. If you're empty.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You have to put yourself at the top of the list. And when people are asked that question, often they're criticized because they decided to put themselves at the top of the list.
Yeah.
And I think the people who are criticizing you didn't put themselves at the top of the list, because and that's the only way that you are made whole. That's the only way that you can break a little bit of you off and give it to someone else is by, and those are my words now. And
I what I love about that is, see, we got to watch who criticizes us, because you gotta be a person to where I want to go to even criticize anything that I'm doing. You got to already be there.
Right.
But if you're not there and you criticizing me, you don't know nothing.
Right.
You don't know nothing. You have to fight.
Yeah.
And
if you pay attention to somebody that is nowhere near where you're going, you take yourself out your goal line. You take yourself out the path.
We were just talking the other day, and I know, Chris, you may not relate to this all the way, but we were just talking about how sometimes we had to sacrifice being at things that other people wanted us to be at because we were working, or we were working on something to better ourselves. I remember when I was doing my master's program and crossing at the same time, I was missing softball games, baseball games, but I was like, hey, I'm working on something for me right now. Can you just give me this piece of time and space so I can work on me? And I was called selfish, not necessarily, but I was called selfish, and I knew, and I felt like people were judging me. But I was on my way to something. I was on my way to these letters behind my name that I had been wanting for years.
You was called selfish from people that wasn't at a place that you wanted to be at.
Exactly.
But if a person that was at a place that you wanted to be in, which you have talked to, what did they say?
Yeah. They were like, keep going.
Yeah.
Do this for yourself. Because what they don't know is this is going to make not only your life better, but it's going to make their life better too.
Yes. Let's just make this a statement, because it seems like it washes through.
Yeah.
Let's stop. I don't care what nobody says. Don't listen to anybody. Like you said, Chris, don't listen to nobody unless they're at the place you want to be, because I promise you it's a whole different conversation. They won't talk like the people on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You gotta cut that noise out. They're not even in the game.
Yeah, that's right. They just watchers.
And you have to follow that frequency level too. Even with those that have made it, sometimes you have to be careful of them too.
Come on now.
And I only say that because what I've learned is that things have advanced and evolved over the years. And so when one might have gotten an accomplishment or a milestone, things might have not been as difficult or as strenuous as going back in your life to obtain whatever it is you want to obtain. Things have changed. And so sometimes people will tell you, you don't need that Mercedes or you don't need that two-story house. But aren't you living in a two-story house? Aren't you driving a
Mm,
Mercedes? So what's
mm,
good for the goose should be good for the gander. But
mm.
and you'll be able to determine those who are solely for you that say, run your race, do your thing. But yeah, you could be selfish in this moment, but it's just temporary. You
It's
don't.
just temporary.
This is the first. That was the first time in Aisha's life, while becoming a Delta, and while becoming a mastered graduate, that she wasn't Miss Sanders, that she wasn't the
Come on.
baby mother of the children, that she wasn't the mother of the children, that she wasn't a spouse or it was
Yeah.
that solely internalized for her well-being,
Yeah.
and
Now,
then
since we
everybody get a part of it.
Yeah.
since we on the subject of changing names and things like that, I heard you got a life insurance license.
Yeah.
I did. I do. I do.
Come on, because you kept that way under wraps, and we had talked to you a
2
couple
days
of weeks
before.
prior to.
2 days
So
before.
yeah. So how did that happen? How did you decide?
Yeah, how did you choose life insurance?
Yeah, life insurance.
So there's been I gotta give a big huge shout out to a dear friend of mine and his wife and Michelle Ford, because they're actually watching right now.
Okay.
Michelle
Well,
Ford.
how Michelle
Yeah,
Ford?
hey, Michelle Ford, how you
how
doing?
y'all doing?
Michelle and Coach Ford have
And Coach Ford.
Oh, hi, Coach.
oh no, yeah. So he actually asked me if I was interested in selling life insurance and giving people financial freedom, and also not just giving them financial freedom, but even placing myself into a more financially free life. And that was one of the things, and I'm still learning so much about the company because I recognize that there's so many things to learn about the company. And so I ended up studying for the exam. I ended up going to foreshadow him for a few weeks, and I didn't tell anybody that I was doing it, and I didn't want anybody to have their influence on and of not doing it or to do it. And that was
Did
one
the
of the
test hard?
you all, because I knew that y'all would be such a bipartisan position on it, that well, if it's going to be good for you, do it type. And so that's what I want to hear sometime, is that part. And so end up doing it, got promoted to district. I've gotten a little laxy days in it, and I need to get back locked in, because what I've sometimes a few no's could kind of turn you upside down.
Yeah.
And so that did, and especially when it's people whom and then they stop answering, and then they stop texting, and then they don't come visit, and so and they're ghosting you when they could have just simply said no.
Yeah.
And for me, that is, and then I'm so grateful for those that have gotten policies that have gotten covered. I've gotten a great deal of people covered, about 15 in my time being covered.
Okay.
So
that's pretty good, Chris.
Yes,
that is really good.
That's the business. So that was my insurance thing. But I am going back to Old Faithful. I'm gonna knock out this year in Monroe, and this will be, and I'm going back to where it matters.
Come on, boy.
Ages.
Come on, boy. I have been. How long have I been on you about Chris? When you gonna go back?
I know. So I start school September 5th.
Tell me about the LSAT, because I'm not familiar.
Come on, Chris.
So so first I'm going to get a 1-year master's at Jarvis Christian University. I start September 5th.
Oh, you not playing with it.
And so I didn't tell anybody about that either, and I won't tell anybody about it until I graduate. But I just told thousands of thousands.
Well, I don't know about thousands yet.
It will be
but
thousands.
You told about
semicolon yet.
It will be thousands. I can get the numbers up, promise you.
But
that's awesome, Chris.
That is the examination that one must take in order to be admitted into law school. And so I have taken it before. but it's my goal to increase in pointage. Anyone who knows my heart was set on Baylor Law for the longest. I wanted to go to Baylor Law School for the longest. Met the dean, met the president, visited the campus. I was all in when I was an undergrad, and so
Baylor's huge. Baylor's huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Baylor, #2 law school in the country when it comes to advocacy. And
What type of law would you be studying under? Like civil, all
yeah,
of it?
I want to do litigation of civil. I want to do civil rights. I want to do real estate. Real estate is a big thing popping.
Yeah.
And I want to do legislative law and constitutional law. I love the Constitution, and when I say I love the Constitution, I love the fact that it could be amended and implement doing things right, doing things better,
doing it right,
That's one of the things for me. It's been my heart's desire to go in and do things with the criminal justice system, to do reform. I think there's a deep need for criminal justice reform. Now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, of my hopes to one day have my hand into bringing that back, whether it be state law or federal law. Those are just things that I think that are most important to me. Women rights, affirmative action has its parts in it. So to just kind of answer your question, I want to have my hand on a little bit of everything, so that I can I could be.
Looks like you want to make an impact.
You're talking when you said being the first elected governor of Louisiana. That's huge, and it comes, it comes with its own weight. Can you just imagine how Obama being the first Black president, how much weight and he carried it. Even though we couldn't see what was behind the scenes, when he got in front of the scenes, he carried it well. Oh, he carried it so good that you think that nothing, he wasn't affected by it, but he wasn't bothered by it at all. So, just, man, I feel like all you need to do at this point is go get it.
Yeah.
It's not by coincidence. I always think about how at such a young age, I was able to work with people like United States Senator Mary Landrieu, and actually be on some television appearances with her, standing right next to her.
Yeah.
And, or the current governor of Louisiana, who I love so dearly, Governor John Bel Edwards, or working with my mayor, both mayors, the first Black and the Jamie Mayo, who is also Black, serving 20 years, getting to sit up and soak up all the knowledge. And the great thing is, you don't have to take everything they say and apply it to your life, because you're your own person. So my way may not be your way, but to just see how they negotiate, or to see how they communicate with the people, the constituents who they represent, I just fell in love with Hurricane Katrina, getting to work with Governor Catherine.
That was a big one, yeah.
A late one, was always, she's was a giant, that lady, to know how she felt about, she was an educator, but to know that her entire 4 years was supposed to have been focused on education. She wanted to build education and bring it from being number 50 in the state and in the country. And Hurricane Katrina hit 3 months after she became governor. So that became her entire 4 years.
Yeah.
And so to digress, that's a little bit, to know that I've gotten a chance to work with those people has given me some sense of hope that one day I'm not immune to being where they have been.
Okay. Let me ask you something, because I want to know about what you're working on now. But I also want to know is I'm gonna give you a short term,
okay,
a mid term,
okay,
and a long term.
Okay.
Short term is going to be anywhere from 6 to 18 months.
Okay.
Medium term is going to be anywhere from 2 to 5 years. And long term is 10.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself in the short term? Goal-wise.
Okay. So in the next 6 to 12 months, 18 months, I hope to see myself with some additional letters behind my name. I hope to have gotten certified to teach social studies if I desired. I wanted to go ahead and get that while I was here. So the social studies, civics, history, while I was here in Monroe. And um, I think that's about it right now that I'm willing
Okay.
to say out loud, I guess. Yeah.
That's big.
That's good. That's good because that's good. So now we're from that 18-point mark. Where do you see yourself in 2 to 5 years from that point?
Uh, I hope to have been just wrapping it up on my first term as a school board member or a city councilman, preparing for reelection. Honestly, I have some big plans to announce in 2024 and next June. So we're going to see where that takes me. So that's the goal.
Are you planning on Monroe?
I am. I'm
Okay. Okay.
on running for school board for a seat that I've run for before, or I plan to run for city council. I'm kind of in the um, residency
Okay.
portion right now, transitioning my residency over and making sure that I meet the requirements as it relates to how long one must live here. So,
Okay.
so yeah,
Okay.
that's so. And so 4 to 5 years would be what, 20, 28, 29. So
Mhm.
hard to say that out loud, knowing that those
I know, yeah, that's like
Yeah.
that's like a whole nother
a
like
whole
space and time. It's like you like the future. Like we supposed to see something happening.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. And then with long term.
My long term goal is to become more personally happy, and I think that is
Mm.
something that we all must. And I don't think it should take me 10 years to get there, but I know that it's going to be bit by bit, day by day type of thing. And so my my goal is to hopefully by then have bumped into a partner that will be my life partner, and at that time preparing a family for the first family. That's my hope. And it's so funny because people who genuinely know me to know that these are conversations that I'm having now.
Look at my face. Look at my face right now.
Know that has never been a thing for me.
Yeah.
People that know that I used to be incredibly horrible at communicating. People would have to call and fuss at me. I think Aisha has definitely done that a few times,
Definitely.
especially if we would go on a break or something, and she'll say, "Okay, now you're really losing your mind. What's up? How you?"
Oh
I
wow.
say,
Yeah, Aisha would do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
and Aisha, I knew I could call you, but I also knew that you wanted to spend time with your family. We've seen each other, since August or since, and so that's one of my biggest things is becoming a more effective communicator. But to go back to the family, um, the older I get, my desire to wanting to love hard and my desire to want children, it was never my hope to have children. And I say that pretty clear to anyone who's watching. That was never something that I wanted. I would tell people all the time that, I could never see myself saying, "Stop that, put that down, come here, don't do that." Never see myself doing that. And so, but over a course of time, I have gotten baby fever, being the goddaddy to so many people and being Uncle Chris to so many people. I've kind of gotten like, overwhelmed with wanting someone to love and
I'm
want.
a crow over here. Chris got baby fever.
I have baby fever, so and you would be surprised of the things that I watch now that involve. Yeah, let me tell you, just the other night, if I had a kid, they would have been watching Lion King with me because I sure enough watched it.
Oh.
Lion King goes
It
hard.
It
does.
goes hard.
Lion King goes hard.
And then I watched Kindergarten Cop 1 and 2 and I said, "Oh my God, I love it." So I loved it, So I just don't. I want to be able to impart and leave a legacy behind, and I know that I can only do that genuinely with an offspring of mine, and and that scares me. That life is filled with swift transition, and that all I have is a bunch of paper and plaques, trophies to prove that I was here, And so, wanting,
You said something.
Oh yeah, that was big.
Yeah, you
That
said
was
something
huge.
right there, Chris.
yeah, So to have a kiddo to be able to continue the legacy of, we can never judge what our kids will be in life, but I think with the right love and the right attention and the right, personality, your kid can be your best friend. And I know some people frown upon that, but it's nothing wrong with your kid being your best friend. They will learn the boundaries of respect.
Yes.
But you can still go hard in the paint with them. Let's go to this NFL game, or let's go have dinner, or let's go, because that's a part of it. That's a part of it. So I digress. Those are my short, mid, and long-term goals and hopes.
There was something to that.
Okay.
The reason why I took you through those different stages
Uh-huh.
is because now everything is in reverse. It starts with this right here.
Yeah.
So when you think ahead to those different stages, now all you have to do is think, what do I start with? And you just started your whole journey. So that was amazing. That was really good to tap into your mind and see, where you were going with it. And at the end of it, it was a conglomerate.
Yeah.
You wanted to be happy, you want to be financially secure, and you want to have peace of mind. So that was like one of the most excellent, description of goal setting. So
and I think that you asked me that because it definitely reminds me of sometimes people think Chris Brown can't get down. I look at what people say to me sometimes, and how to some people you will be an image to them because they don't know you. So all they know is what you present to them.
Mm-hmm.
that's big.
The media is one of those biggest platforms that allow people to conclude a perception about you.
Yeah.
But I think if you read the book, and there are times where I talk about people would have this conclusion about me being perfect, or their conclusion about nothing goes wrong in his life. Many people wouldn't know. But I think it's important to tell them that even me too, even I cry, even I fall short, even I have my financial difficulties sometimes, even I have my family struggles sometimes, or my love life wants to be so much greater, or even a love life. That's the thing, right? Not just so. I think that when we can see each other, see ourselves and others, we can move them to different heights, only if they're willing to be a teachable teacher.
Oh,
Yeah. That's it. I think we have some comments. Our moderator has been.
Okay. I can see those comments.
What we got?
Oh, I do see some comments.
Yes, we have Camille. She's letting you know she's looking forward to it. All your success. Got it. We got Ice Castle Studios in here saying hey. We got Shotty and Shell saying hey.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Pam. Anything else in there?
Well, Ice Castle's answer is C, but
see,
that's
neither.
C.
Neither. They don't want. They want nothing to
They
do with
want
cheesecake.
nothing to do with no cheesecake. Was that the only cheesecake answer we had?
That's the only cheesecake answer we
Okay.
have.
All right. Well, I guess what won? I guess the cheesecake as a whole won. Huh?
We're gonna still run the poll.
Right,
It ain't over until it's over. So
Not over.
Well, let's see. It's almost our time, Chris. I just want to thank you so much for not only being our first guest, but being such a great friend to me and Dee, a great supporter of us. You've always kind of been
you're
excited.
the first guest. The first guest.
Yeah, you've been excited about the things that we've decided to do, especially with this podcast, and we're excited for you. We are pushing you on.
You can go back and look at how you goal set and get back on track and do this right.
Yeah.
So you can get what you need to
and
get.
Listen, when you graduate with your master's, we're gonna be there. So you just keep us posted.
Not only
Nika says good job,
but we're gonna have to plan a trip.
Say it again.
We're gonna have to plan us a trip where I can have plenty of coconuts and plenty of pineapples. Best stuff.
Deal. Deal. Tell people where they can find you if they want to reach out, if they don't know you. Just anything that you would like to share before we close out this evening.
Okay. Well, I want to first off say to you all that I am so appreciative for the opportunity to have thought of me, to have called me up to be on you all's show. You all have done an excellent job with what the performance, the professionalism, the time invested in creating, all that comes along. I can only imagine. I saw the other day, I said, look at that. They got a Facebook page and shit making flyers, and they got a podcast screen, and they got, so I just want to say that I'm so proud of all of what you all have done to take the time out to make it possible so that other people can know, if I only did this right, or if I only do this right, how can I get to the next phase?
Absolutely.
I want to thank my love bug who's behind that camera running everything. Congratulations on all your success. I can't
Thank
wait.
you.
Drop the ball on Earth so they can know that you've arrived. And so,
Yeah, shout out to Kamari. She's running the show. She's engineering right now.
That's right.
That's my baby.
And to all those that have come on and to have watched, you all have done a really great job of being an audience and being attentive. I know that's what Aisha and Darren looks for. It's an active group, so you all have done well there. But to make sure, if any of you all want to reach out to me, you can reach out to my Facebook page. It's Chris Brown. Sometimes you may have to put Wiley next to Chris Brown to filter all those Chris Browns out in the world. Me. And my Instagram is @simply_Tron, TRON. And I'll definitely accept you there. And you can always get the book off of Amazon. You just type in Antron, ANTRON, Dear Absent Father, Life Being Reared by My Mother, the Strong Black Mother. And those are my platforms, and that you can reach out to me. And I love the hell out of you all, and there's nothing you all can do about it. Shamika, I saw you, girl, on there. I love the hell out of you. All right.
We're gonna make sure to share your platforms and that information in the description and Facebook and things like that, so people will be able to reach out to you, and the link to the book. Listen, it's not a hard read, it's not expensive, so definitely support.
Yep. Book should not be that lengthy. No one knows you. For any people that are out there writing, no one knows you. They're not going to read 700 pages.
That part. That part.
All right. And then if you have suggestions, comments, questions, and you want, or even if you just want to be on the show to show, what did you do to do it right or to get it right? You can either hit us up by message. You can message the page or by email at If I Do This Right podcast. So all lowercase, no dots nor anything like that. So If I Do This Right podcast at gmail.com. Stay tuned for a Did You Know section by me. I'm going to give you some information of, hey, did you know this was out here available for you? And I want you to tune in because it's going to be some really good stuff. And then make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And then also, we want to make sure that we get a shout out to our man. I love Shell and Shaw.
Yeah,
they already know it.
But
you got to check out the Shell and Shaw show. It's every Friday night at 7 p.m. If you don't know how to get to it, you can just type in Shell and Shaw show. Or if you follow our page, we're also going to share we share. Man, it's like the sea.
I gave you the hard part this show.
Well, yeah, the seashell by the seashore. Yeah. So we're gonna share the Shell and Shaw show on our page. There we go. I did it.
Boy, you got that out.
I did it. I handled it. I got across that bridge. All right. So
again, Chris, thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
Chris,
joining
I
us.
appreciate it. Yeah, definitely appreciate you being the first guest.
Absolutely.
We learned a lot from you.
Yeah.
Just by speaking to you, just by picking your brain, seeing where you were, and seeing how you overcame things. Because things that's now behind you stay behind you because you're so far ahead. So
absolutely. Want to thank our moderator again, my baby Kamari. Want to thank everyone for watching today. Don't give her a head. She's cheesing real hard behind the camera. Y'all can't see it. So make sure to watch our next show, which will be the second Sunday of September, which I believe is September the 10th. We're going to have Elsa Nobles on the show. Elsa is a social worker in Longview, Texas, and the East Texas area. She also happens to be a Sarah of mine and Kamari's. She is like I said, she's a social worker, and she's going to share her how she did it right story. She has a amazing story to tell about not only how she is become just a active member in society in what all she's went through, but also how she got into the social work career. So I'm excited to hear her story and for her to share her story with us. We want to thank all of you all for joining us today. Definitely those of you guys who even weren't able to watch live, thank you for watching. Make sure you get the book.
Get this book. Just support and get the book.
Just support.
And if you have a link,
I'm gonna share the Amazon link.
Yeah, let's share the Amazon link. Let's get numbers on this because this is something that he did out of his own story that can inspire somebody. So get the book, y'all. It's a nice book. So get the book. And Chris, thank you. We thank you. Thank you. We
you're my baby.
I know. Listen, you all, I love the hell out of you all. I can't wait to come and visit.
All right.
Okay.
Y'all stay tuned for the Did You Know segment.
All right, stay tuned. We'll see y'all. Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Bye, friends.
All right. How y'all doing today? It was a good show, wasn't it? All right. So this part of the show is where I share with you things that are out here that you can take advantage of that you may not even know exist or may not even know that's out there for you. So one of the I guess things I want to share with you is there is a website. It's called NACA, NACA.com. What NACA does is if your dream of home ownership is within your reach. So to get access to NACA, it's the best in America as far as getting a mortgage without any consideration for your credit throughout the whole program, and then most effective homebuyer program in the nation. NACA mortgage benefits comes with no down payment, no closing cost fees, and no mortgage insurance. Now, mortgage insurance is when you're not 80% loan of value and you're a little bit higher than that. They want some insurance on you to make sure they get their money. Well, with NACA, there's no mortgage insurance at that point. But if you're a first-time home buyer, don't worry. They have workshops. I encourage anybody and everybody to go to NACA.com and click on and do one of their workshops. They will never say no to you, but they will tell you where you are or if you're ready to buy a home. All right. So I bet you didn't know that. But if you did, go ahead through the program and you'll be a homeowner. You have you go to the homeowners buyership and be a homeowner. So I thank you all. Take care. Peace, love, and good night.